All right, time for another Nerdy Virgin podcast. Well, an embarrassing thing happened where I was asking someone else, "Hey, do you have a podcast?" And they said, "Well, we were working on something, but it's kind of on hold right now." And then he asked me, "Do you have a podcast?" And I said, "Well, yes, I do. I've had a podcast that I've done for years, and near as I can tell, I think 5 people listen to it." So, and listen, if you are someone who's listening to this, please, I appreciate that you listen to it. Totally appreciate it. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I am making fun of myself for only having the 5 of you. And while other people's listenership has ballooned and skyrocketed, I think the point I'm trying to make is you may have backed the wrong horse here. But if whatever I'm doing is giving you pleasure, great. And if you're just a bot, hopefully whatever I'm doing is giving the bot pleasure. Bots need to have pleasure too, right? I have fallen off my diet. I'm not as bad as I was. I'm not eating a ton of sweets, but I am like I had a bunch of tortilla chips today. They're no good for me. So my cholesterol is probably going up again, and I can tell that it's not good because my bowels are not doing great. The interesting thing was I went to Vegas and then visited my parents, and while I was away, my diet was pretty good. It was right when I came back that my diet got bad. I just backslid from it, and that's I have no self control. I can't have just one chip. I have to have the entire bag of chips. So I've been feeling bloated and gassy for the better part of 2 weeks. I wonder why the listenership of this podcast is not drastically increasing by leaps and bounds. But at any rate, that's going on. So I was better today. I made a stew with salmon and tomatoes, and I take a bunch of tomatoes, not the cherry tomatoes, not the regular size tomatoes. They're like the in between size. Crush them, and then I threw in some kale and boil it, and basically the vegetables cook in the tomato juice, the natural tomato juice, and I don't add anything else, and except salmon. And the problem with what I've been making has been that the tomato taste, the tomato flavor has overpowered everything else. And I think I finally figured it out with the help of the guy who used to be the chef of Flappers, where I work. I put in a quarter of an onion, maybe a half an onion, chopped up, and the onion was able to kind of balance out the sweetness of the tomato. So I finally honed in on the recipe here, which has been very helpful. And what I like about this is that there's nothing added that's bad. So it's a way for me to get my greens in without eating a salad, which I can't stand. So that was a victory. But then, then the tortilla chips just blew it out of the water. You know what I mean? Blew it out of the water. But discovering that onion, that was useful. I don't know if it's helpful for you to hear this, but that was happening. I don't know, I rode it right to the limit on those tomatoes. This is the trouble with produce. I have to eat it soon or it goes bad. And I have to be more disciplined. That's all there is to it. Discipline. You have to be disciplined. Buy the food that I'm going to eat and actually eat it. I think, I get home sometimes and I'm just too tired to make anything. That's one of my big issues. That's the ish. That's the big ish. You know what I'm saying? That is the big ish. But I am working on that. I'm also, I fell off on exercising. It got really cold out, so I use that as an excuse to not exercise. It doesn't take much for me to have an excuse to not exercise. Oh no, a leaf fell on the sidewalk. It's impeding my it's impeding my path. I can't exercise. But we're doing that, and I'm just trying to find the truth of things. And I mean, in some ways, I'm ashamed and afraid. I'm not ashamed, but afraid to admit this. But in some ways, things are going well. I hate to admit that because I feel like when I say that, God will say, "Oh, things are going well. Here, I'll change that. I'm sorry, I must be losing it. Here, let me go. Let's go make life miserable again. How about another pandemic? Boom." That's what I feel like tends to happen. But I'm definitely feeling a bit better. I should say. I should think. I'm sure something will come along and bring me back down again. But that's happening. That's good. And what else? I watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, a perfect film, near as I can tell. The thing that bothers me about it, though, is I wish that I could watch some of these older movies without seeing the flaws in the special effects. Because it's a 40-year-old movie, so it's not going to look like the modern movies. I'm starting to see more of the flaws. The ship flies through the screen, and you can see the stars coming through behind the ship. Little errors like that, and it doesn't matter. It's a good story. So what if the special effects aren't perfect? But I just wish I could see it through the eyes of the 4-year-old me that saw it, that just was totally captivated by it. I miss the innocence of that, which I feel like I can't, even in modern movies. Like the big thing in modern movies is, if it's a computer generated special effect, and I know it's a computer generated special effect, I'm out of it. I know, oh, that's a computer, okay, and who cares? I mean, if the story's good, it's not that I'm out of it, but I just go, all right, that was a computer. I think, though, there are people online on YouTube who they are doing the special effects, like they're redoing the special effects from the Star Trek movies on their own machines. And they're kind of updating the special effects, and they're doing a pretty bang up job. And I'll sit there and I'll watch those, I'll watch those videos, uh, and be like, oh man, this is great. There's one guy he did he redid some of the special effects in Star Trek 6, and I was like, I wish the modern Star Trek looked like this. Very impressive with what people are able to do. Very inspiring, actually. It almost makes me want to do it myself. But then I think I don't want to sit in front of a computer screen for an hour, so I probably will not do that. But maybe I could get someone else to do that and pay them as little as possible to do it. Now you're thinking. Now you're thinking like a producer, kid. Now I need to pay a competitive wage. See, here's what's happening. I'm not making a movie, but already I'm thinking about making a movie, and already I'm feeling guilty for not paying enough money to do the job that I think for what it's worth. I'm already putting myself in a place of guilt. Nothing has actually happened. Why is it that every time I podcast alone, I always lead to guilt? Always lead to guilt. Hilarious. Truly hilarious. What else can I discuss? A truly fantastic question. It's a nice night. Not too cold, but then again, I am layered. Maybe if I wasn't layered, maybe it would be cold. The stars are out. Ah, to stare in perfect silence at the stars. Was that Whitman? I think that's Whitman, right? I hope that was Whitman. What was it when he's the whole poem is he's listening to the astronomer talking about facts and figures, and then he just goes outside and he stares in perfect silence at the stars. And I think what he's trying to say is something to the effect of the what is he trying to say with it? That to sit there and parse through the science is one thing, but to actually experience it is another, and perhaps on some levels a more profound thing than to analyze, which is a beautiful sentiment. Though there's a part of me that says that's great, but let's not poo-poo science per se. I don't want I don't want the I don't want someone to I want someone to find the cure. I want someone to find the vaccine for COVID, not to stare in perfect silence at COVID. You know what I mean? So I think there's a place for both in this world. There's a place for science and then a place for poetry. They should both be there. How about that? Is that fair to Whitman? If Whitman wrote it, I don't mean to. Now I feel guilty about saying that to Whitman. I think he would agree. Maybe he wouldn't. And again, if you look at the poem, he's not necessarily dismissing science. He's just he's just talking about his own experience. Who is the one who's dissing science? I'm the one putting that on top of it. Maybe I'm the one that has a problem with science. I don't have a problem with science. I love science. Unless science tells me something I don't want to hear, like, hey, you need to lower your cholesterol. And suddenly I'm like, well, science, not so much. I need to own that, yeah. Science is telling me I shouldn't eat those potato chips. Where it happened to my, and then I stared in perfect silence at the tortilla chip. That's what happened there. So listen, as I was talking about this, I'm walking through the neighborhood, and I noticed this one of these motorized kids, little mini cars. They put a 3-year-old in it, and it's like a motorized mini car, right? And I noticed it was a mini Porsche. Porsche. Is it Porsche or Porsche? I think it's Porsche. A mini Porsche, which makes sense. That'd be a cool mini car to have. And, maybe motivational too. Like, hey, if you work really hard, someday you could be driving a real Porsche. But maybe, my question is, how much was that toy? $500, $1,000? Is it possible that there's a $100 version of that would be like a mini Honda, a bit more cost effective, and maybe a bit more realistic for some children? You drive the mini Honda. Let's be honest. Best case scenario, you're an accountant. Drive the mini Honda. Let's keep the expectations where we can manage them. You know what I mean? I'm feeling like I accomplished quite a bit here. Actually, I feel like there's a lot that I talked through, which is nice. I don't know if you care, but I don't know. I'll keep posting it. You can listen to it or not listen to it. The advantage is You can stop listening to it whenever you want, or you can put it in the background and do other things while you listen to it. Perhaps stare in perfect silence at the stars, or stare in perfect silence at the stars while eating in perfect silence the tortilla chips. I think it was Whitman. I think. I could stop and look it up, but I don't want to. I'm too busy staring in perfect silence at the sidewalk. All right, I think this feels like 20 minutes. Has it been 20 minutes? 15 minutes and 35 seconds. Well, I don't want to only do 15 minutes. I feel right doing 20. Well, what else is going on, Josh? I'm wearing a... Did I tell you that I bought a Doctor Who jacket? Did I mention that in the podcast last week? Still hasn't come in yet. I got an email saying it's been shipped. But I guess it's been shipped, but it's going to take until the 15th, I guess, to get here. One more week. It's the jacket that the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, wore in the first season. So it's this kind of, I guess it's navy blue, but with a red, what's the word? It's not insulin, but the inside. Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, well, this will take another 5 minutes. Well, I think the lining, red lining. There it is. It is called a Crombie jacket. I'm hoping I got the right size. I guessed. I think I went with the small. We will see. It was a little expensive, more than I like to pay for an item of clothing, but hopefully it will give me many years of service. And I'm curious to see if anyone will say, oh, that's the Doctor Who jacket, because it's not really overtly a Doctor Who jacket. But we'll find out. We'll find out if people know their Doctor Who. But I'm looking forward to getting it, and it's the perfect time of year for it. What made me do this? I'm being more over it with my nerdiness. I think the next step is I want to get the jacket that Patrick Stewart wore as Captain Picard. And he had a casual jacket that he wore in the later part of the series. I think I'm going to get that one next. We're just going to jump right in and do it. But what I like about the Crombie jacket, the Doctor Who jacket, is that it's a bit more formal. So I can get away with wearing it when I need to dress up more. That's exciting. I'm very excited about this jacket. Too excited about this jacket, frankly. Lining, and I'm glad that I came up with the lining. And I'm also getting better at remembering. And I forget his name. There's a comedian whose name I always forget, and I don't know why. I've known about the guy for 10 years. The one-liner guy. Mitch Hedberg, there it is. I'm getting better at remembering his name. For some reason, the neurons just don't want... And there's that dog that always barks at me. Hello, dog. Don't worry, I'm not going to try to take over your territory. I wouldn't want that property. No offense. No offense. Here's something I'm torn on. There's a part of me that wants to buy property. Not that I can afford it, but part of me wants to be able to buy property, buy a house, but at the same time, the thought of having to own a house and deal with all the issues of the house is not something I'm keen on dealing with. Buying property in California, or the land in California, is terrifying because there's earthquakes and floods and fires and all this stuff that could happen. So then when I actually think about buying property, this is what you do in your 40s, I guess. Really, I find myself having conversations about this with people. Oh, I wish I could afford to buy a house, and talking about equity and investment and mortgages. And I'm sitting there having that conversation. And in the middle of that conversation, I'm saying to myself, this is awful. I don't want to be talking about this. This is awful and boring. Who cares about this stuff? I don't want to talk about this at all. I want to talk about, I think I would rather complain about Andor, which is a high quality show that I've stopped watching because it's just not fast enough for me. It's too good. It's too good for me. It's too good. There's got to be more schlock in the show, I guess. I don't know. If it's Star Wars, I need a lightsaber, and it would be helpful to have a guy or girl, or it doesn't even matter the gender, somebody who is kind of a smart aleck. I need that. I need a fast talking kind of Han Solo. I need a Han Solo. There needs to be a laser sword and a Han Solo like character who's there with a quip. That's what I need. This Andor thing, it's too slow. It's too Russian Tolstoy novel for me. So I'll try to finish it. I'll try, but it's tough, very tough. I need not enough quips, not enough sarcasm. I knew there were 2 new episodes I haven't watched. What did I do? I went back and I watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which to this day, it's amazing to me they just cannot beat Wrath of Khan. 40 years of movies, and they cannot beat Wrath of Khan. It's unbeatable. They try every time they try. And what I find hilarious is that every second or fourth movie, or actually third or fifth movie or whatever, they come along and they go, we're going to basically try to do Wrath of Khan again, but it's our own spin, and it's going to be better than Wrath of Khan. And they try, and it just is not. Wrath of Khan is standing on the top of a mountain, and all these other movies are climbing up, and Wrath of Khan just keeps very easily kicking them back down the mountain. It's almost hilarious. I feel like if they try to make a Star Trek movie and anyone in the room says, well, I'm inspired by Wrath of Khan, somebody should immediately walk out and go, no, forget it. Don't try, you can't. Do something else. Go in another direction. Be your own thing. Amazing to me. 40 years. And not to say that the movies afterwards have been bad. They've been great. They have been great too. But I don't know what it is, but there's just something about Wrath of Khan, which they made on an incredibly tight budget. I think it had I don't know what, because I think Star Trek the Motion Picture was 40 million at the end of the day, and this one was 10, 5, maybe 2. There was one set. It was the bridge. Truly amazing. Just I go back and I watch that, and I'm like, God. And watching them try, and they just try as they might. With all this, they have more money, they have more special effects. It's amazing to me how. Well, maybe the lesson is that it's the limitation, in a way, because they were limited by their budget. The limitation bred, I think with Nicholas Meyer, who directed it, says art thrives on restriction. So they couldn't do all the amazing things that even the Star Wars movies were doing. And as a result, it was fantastic. There's a lesson there, right? Art thrives on restriction. And that's why when I should be using better equipment for the podcast, I'm not. Can I not say that I am making art? And I am thriving on the restriction? Well, I'm thriving. I don't think the person listening to it is, because they're going, oh, that sound quality's awful. don't know what they're saying. Did I get to? I think I got to 20. I think I'm beyond 20. 20. Well, look at that. 25. I aimed for 20 and I got 25. And if you're still listening to this, thank you, whoever you are or whatever bot you may be. All right, that's good. We're good. Thank you.